Hey everyone, it's Bree. Today we have a special episode of our podcast. We're celebrating International Childfree Day, and so we've asked some thought leaders in the child-free space to pre-record some answers for us to share with you guys. We're going to dive into what it means to live a fulfilling child-free life and how it shapes both personal and professional journeys. Welcome to the Child-Free Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, Certified Financial Planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast. Today we have answers from Dr. J, as many of you know here, Nandita Bajaj from Population Balance, Christine Erickson, founder of the New Legacy Institute, and then Angela Harris of No Bibs, Burps, Bottles. So, let's jump right in. To start off, we asked, what kind of impact do you want to have in your personal or professional life as a child-free person? And here's what they had to say.
Hi, this is Dr. J. When I think about impact, I've been doing this exercise with some of my clients, and I did it for myself. And the question I'm really trying to answer is, what's the second line of your obituary? So the first line is like, Jay died at, 90, wherever you died. And usually the second line is, father of 3 leaves behind. Well, that's not us. So for child-free people, the question is like, what's that second line for your obituary? And I've been working on this for myself, and it's kind of one of those reflection things. And the answer I came up with was loving husband, world traveler, author, and innovator. And some of that's like aspirational. I'm not doing the world traveling yet, but I got to put that in there. Some of the stuff on innovation is literally what you're listening to. I've got my next book coming out, The Child-Free Guide to Life and Money. Those are the things that I'm spending a lot of my time on. And there's also the personal things, the things I do to support my wife. She's the rose, I'm the gardener. We're doing these support roles. That's, to me, what impact is. It's a little bit of everything in that personal and professional and the balancing act. I don't really know how I'm going to measure it. That's one of the challenges, but that's what I'm going to do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nandita Bajaj. I am 42 years old, and I live in Toronto, Canada, with my husband, Mike, and my dog, Sophie. I was born and raised in India, and I have lived in Toronto for 25 years. Mike and I are both child-free by choice, a decision we made together about 15 years ago. We're also both minimalists and vegan. I work as a full-time executive director of a U.S. nonprofit called Population Balance, and I also work as a part-time senior lecturer at Antioch University through the Institute for Humane Education. What kind of impact do you want to have in your personal or professional life as a child-free person? As a child-free person, I am very interested in minimizing the negative impact I have on the planet and maximizing the positive impact that I can have on others and on the planet, which is one of the reasons my husband and I chose not to have children. But also, as someone who didn't know that choosing to child-free was a possibility until my late 20s, I work hard to expose the forces of patriarchy and pronatalism that prevent people, especially women, from making more liberated reproductive choices. In my work, I draw the connections between patriarchy, pronatalism, and overpopulation, and I help people understand that not only is having reproductive freedom a basic right, but also that if women are given greater reproductive freedom, we wouldn't have a population problem. Lastly, because I'm so deeply fulfilled as a child-free person, I also want people to know just how liberating it can be to not have children, and the freedom it gives you to pursue your own passions and also to direct your time, energy, and resources toward other causes that you are passionate about.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christine Erickson, and I'm very grateful to be here with you all today. Thank you to Child-Free Wealth for inviting me to this conversation on this very significant day for our community. I'm the founder of New Legacy Institute, which focuses on policy as a catalyst for change for people without children. I'm also the host of New Legacy Radio, which is a social justice platform for people without children. What kind of impact do you want to have in your personal or professional life as a child-free person? I will first respond to this question by stating that I choose to identify myself as someone without children. I have reflected on my life and had the opportunity to really discern and think through chapters of my life where I adamantly declared I didn't want children, and other times when I thought I did want children and really grieved that that was not a possibility. So I think part of the conversation that I would like to contribute to personally is just to remind us all that there is a continuum. I know we default a lot to child-free and childless, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone is able to identify as they need to. I just want to remind us all always that it's not exactly a linear process, and wherever we land on that continuum, which can change throughout our lifetime, all of that is who we are. It's not only if you are in one defined space on that continuum, it's all of it in between as well. Professionally, I would really like to contribute to creating a credible platform for actionable change for our demographic. I wish that we could come together for collective action. And this has been very difficult. I think part of it is just where we are in our ways of being in our communities, and often it can seem like a stretch to start talking about policy and political power or public power. However, I don't think that anyone is going to do this for us. And even if they were, they need to do it with our insight, with our knowledge, with our perspective, because we know what we need and we have the solutions as to how to go about that. That is really what I hope to accomplish with the Institute and beyond. And I invite you all to any conversation around that.
Hello, I'm Dr. Angela L. Harris, the visionary and founder of No Bibs, Burps, Bottles. We are the #1 community and online platform that empowers, celebrates, highlights African American Black child-free women to live their best child-free life. So what kind of impact do I want to make in my personal child-free life? The impact on my personal life being a child-free individual is to continue to be unapologetically child-free, to not apologize for my choice, to not have to explain my choice to anyone, to stand 10 toes down. The impact in this journey has been remarkable, and I want to be able to empower other women on their child-free journey too.
Now at Childfree Wealth, one of our core beliefs is we help people plan for life first, then finances. We often say it like this: make your finances simple so your life can be amazing. How do you define your amazing life?
When it comes to amazing life, to me, it's that freedom to do whatever you want. Now, if I had my choice, I'd be on a boat traveling the world, that's where I want to be. It's not where I am right now, but that is part of my amazing life. But the other part is literally this weekend, I'll say to my wife, hey, let's go to the flea market over here. We wander the flea market and have a good time and, stop at the food trucks. That is an amazing life, even though it's not flashy or crazy. I mean, we live just outside Nashville. We're not going partying. That's not our amazing life. It's the simple things in life that matter.
How do I define my amazing life? Well, I feel very lucky to say that I love my life and I could not imagine it being any other way. I get to share it with my husband, with whom I share so many values, and I get to work in an area I'm deeply passionate about. My husband and I feel privileged to have discovered the possibility of being child-free. Our lives, as they are the fullest and most authentic expressions of who we are, and we could not be happier. We absolutely love spending time with each other. We love exploring creative ways of lowering our impact on the planet. We have a lot of fun together. We have lots of deep, meaningful conversations. We love exploring local hikes. We love spending time with our dog. We love spending time with our families and our friends. We love watching movies, studying, learning, and volunteering. And I get to bring that same passion to the work that I do in advocating for human rights, animal rights, and the rights of nature.
How do I define my amazing life? Well, I appreciate the context that this comes from, given the work of Child-Free Wealth. I really want to say that anyone without children does not have to claim to have an amazing life. However, I do love my life, and the aspects that I have been able to pursue, I don't know if I would have done those or not without a child. Who knows? So I just feel in my life, I kept making the decisions that were right for me. And this is where I am. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I think that's all any of us can ask of ourselves. I know that there is, particularly around legacy and other things that we discussed, there's a pressure to somehow be phenomenal or wealthy or amazing because we don't have children. And that's not true. We're all going to be and live who we are and in our circumstances across the board, across all walks of life and intersections of life. And that is okay. And I think we are amazing as a demographic and as a community. And I've met so many incredible people, and I celebrate them each day. I'm so grateful for the people that I have met. And I wish all of us and any of us an amazing life. However, I think it's also very important to acknowledge that it's okay if you don't feel like your life is amazing. You do you. And I think that's what's most important.
So how do I define this amazing life? The way I define this amazing life is just waking up every morning, being authentically myself, being a strong African-American Black woman, being a child-free woman, and all the other salient identities that I hold, being unapologetic about who I am and whose I am. So when I think about this amazing life, I also think about my ancestors who didn't have a choice, and I honor them in the work that I do in making sure that I empower African-American Black child.
Next, we posed a question that many of us have been asked in our life regarding expectations for care and support in later years.
Care and support in the later years. I am one of those. I'm a fan of, maybe we'll have caring robots at the end or something. But really, it's about having a plan and having the money to support your care across your life. I think the other one that I've been doing a lot of work on is like who makes decisions for us when we're older. And hopefully we'll have actually a product from the company coming out later in the year to help address that. But when it comes to care and support, I go, hey, my wife and I are there to support each other. Our money will work, and so will our financial plan.
How does being child-free affect my expectations for care and support in later years? I think that regardless of whether one has kids or not, it is everyone's responsibility to plan for their own care and support in later years. One shouldn't have kids so that they can serve as an old age insurance. I think it is wonderful when kids can be there for their parents in old age, but there's no guarantee that that will happen. I am very close with my parents, and I know that I will be supporting them through their elderly years, but it's something I'll be doing out of love rather than a sense of duty. Laura Carroll's book, The Baby Matrix, does a really great job in exposing the fallacies of that expectation. And that's not always the case in all the families. As far as my husband and me, other than saving for retirement and care for our later years, we will likely move into a retirement facility that aligns with our values or live in a co-housing type of facility with other child-free and vegan people so that we can support one another.
How does being child-free affect my expectations for care and support in later years? However, this does shift, not because I had the expectation, but I think for anyone with or without children, the reality of care as we become elderly or disabled or not well, diagnosed with any number of things, where we can't care for ourselves or we can't maintain our living spaces. This is a really difficult question. It's a very difficult space to look at because not all of us have the means to plan ahead. This is a new conversation, which is really important, and I really appreciate it because I think the existing generations and future generations may have a different opportunity to think about this earlier than many of us had the opportunity to do so. And so while I think it's a great question, I don't think it has changed the way I'm planning because I didn't have that sense that this is what I expect. And it's a very real circumstance and potential consequence to think about if you don't have other people in your family or close friends, chosen family to care for you or to rely on just to go to medical appointments now, let alone during other aging care. Again, I appreciate this question, and I think it's a very, very important conversation.
So how does being child-free affect my expectations on support and care later on in life? Now, I think about this question often, but I try not to stay stuck there because I don't want to live in fear and I don't want to live in anxiety. I plan to have an awesome child-free life until I'm no longer here, but I also am intentional with planning. So I've talked to my nephew and my goddaughter about being my power health of attorney. If I'm not able to make decisions for myself, I want them to be able to do so on my behalf. I also have created the pink book that has all my important documents. So if anything was to happen to me, my family can come right in, look through that pink book and know where to go and know what to do. I want to be part of a community as long as I live. So I'm trying to live long, be happy, and be intentional on planning now so that I can have a great child-free life later.
Being that we are a financial company that is very involved in the child-free community, we wanted to know, how do you manage financial planning and retirement differently without children in the picture?
So when a question of financial planning and retirement, okay, like seriously, I could do hours and hours on this. So I'm not going to go too far on it. But when I look at my finances and my retirement, my wife and I have had a lot of discussion about this file versus fire. She'll probably never stop working. I'll probably cut back. Maybe I'm traveling the world on my boat and writing books or something. I don't know. But there's a lot more flexibility. What we focus on personally is financial independence, and just having a solid foundation that then lets us do whatever we want. We did things like, hey, we sold our house and we rent all the time. Why renting? Because it gives a lot of flexibility. That's stuff I can do that's different without children.
In terms of how I manage financial planning and retirement differently without children, I should start by saying that for most of my adulthood, I have been a minimalist and a fiscally conservative person. Thanks to my parents' investment in my and my sister's future, I had the privilege of receiving higher education in fields that I've desired, and the same is true for my husband. Not having children has allowed both of us to have the financial means to choose careers that align with our values, rather than necessarily looking at employment primarily as a way to cover the costs of raising children and investing in their education and future, which is a humongous cost. And even in terms of philanthropy, volunteering, and saving for our retirement, there is a huge philosophical shift in terms of how we relate to our money when we know that we're not building a war chest for our biological offspring. Beyond what we need to meet our current needs, as well as saving for our retirement, We give much of our earnings to charities of our choice. And even in our wills, most of our savings are designated to go to charities. There's incredible freedom and joy that comes with having that kind of a relationship to money, where you earn it doing what you love and to live a fulfilled life, and then you give most of it away to causes that you love.
My personal response is I don't do anything differently. I really never held this notion that if I had children, that they would take care of me and that they would be responsible for me financially or for my care or otherwise. I really just didn't imagine that as part of the picture, even when I thought I wanted to have children. So I haven't changed it in that way, although I guess I could imagine if I had children that, depending on the circumstances, I might do something differently to protect them or whatever is needed. I'm not sure. However, I really didn't foresee like having children that would take care of me. And I hope this is something that shifts in our society. I think that the obligation and just the impact of caregiving that has happened to so many people without children because they are the one without children or they are the only child without children. Real default in our society and an assumption that people will do this, that they should uproot their lives, that they should stop everything that they're doing. And of course, that's a personal choice. And if you have the capacity and means to do that, by all means, that can be a very loving gesture. However, the expectation of it is a different story. And this is why I think it's so important for people without children to be involved in policy development, in policy conversations, and just an integral part of shaping social policy, because we have different lived experiences and we have a different perspective that serves not only our demographic, but everyone, because it's a very false assumption to assume that because you have children, they will be able to take care of you or that they want to take care of you or to leave their lives to do so. It doesn't even have to be a matter of not loving someone. It's just a reality and circumstances and being able to live your life as you have chosen. So I really appreciate this question, and I hope that we can make some headway in being more visible in this conversation overall.
So how do I manage financial planning and retirement without children in the picture? Let me tell you, I'm handling my business. I am making sure that I'm in constant communication with my retirement planning organization. I'm making sure that I'm saving now and going to make sure that I'm saving later. I'm listening to podcasts that talk about financial planning and saving and budgeting. So I'm making sure that I'm keeping myself informed, because your girl don't want to be caught out there when I get of retirement age. So I want to be comfortable. I want to live comfortably, and I'm planning now. And I also need to make an appointment with Jay from Childfree Wealth.
Another core belief at Childfree Wealth is that reproductive health is a fundamental right. That rings true for many child-free people, and it would be hard to think of celebrating International Childfree Day without it. So we asked, how do you engage in discussions or actions related to reproductive health and rights?
Comes to reproductive health and rights, this is a huge issue both for me personally and as a company. We've had to make a lot of interesting decisions for the company to protect the privacy of our clients and to support reproductive health and rights. I was actually originally in Mississippi, and our governor there said, hey, we're not going to tap your phones or read your mail, but, and the but is, hey, we might look through stuff and try to find information about reproductive rights and other things. And we had to move our company out of Mississippi to being under the SEC to protect the privacies of our clients. A lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, but we did that because it's important. every day you seem to flip the news and you get some other weird stuff on there, and it can be tiring to always have that battle, but we need to keep having it.
How do I engage in discussions or actions related to reproductive health and rights? Advocating for gender equality and reproductive rights are the main part of my work, both at Population Balance and in my teaching at Antioch University. One of the main pillars of my work is to challenge patriarchy and pronatalism, both of which play a huge role in undermining reproductive rights, but also the rights of children whose needs are often not taken into account, as well as the rights of non-human beings to be able to thrive in a healthy environment. Though everyone, regardless of whether they have kids or not, can challenge these forces, I find that choosing to be child-free is a direct antidote to patriarchal forces who rely on women to be reproductive vessels to grow the powers of institutions, whether it's religion, nation states, or the economy. Having said that, to have or not have kids should be a choice that is available to everyone, and a choice that should be made very mindfully, based on your own desires and competencies to take on that responsibility, and the rights and well-being of potential children, as well as the needs of other beings on the planet.
I engage in them every day, not only as part of the Institute and what we are trying to achieve, but I have been involved in this conversation since I was a teenager, which is heartbreaking in the one sense. And on the other hand, it is necessary because these rights are continually attacked. Women are harmed, women are dying, children are dying because of this. And we really need to have a collective, in my opinion, action around this as well as people without children. It doesn't mean that we all think and hold the same values. But those of us who believe in reproductive rights and reproductive autonomy, bodily autonomy, and just the right to health care, reproductive rights as health care, I think that we have a role to play in this. So many of us as people without children have been negatively impacted by this through adverse situations with doctors who deny rights that are legal, such as permanent contraception or any other kind of surgery that someone declares they want. And it is the doctor who denies this based on their concern that one may change their mind. This needs to change. This is not part of their practice, and it is definitely not in alignment with first do no harm. It is doing a lot of harm. And so I think across the board, these issues need to be discussed, and our demographic, our community, our leaders need to be visible and involved actionably in these issues in a very credible and impactful way.
So how do I engage in discussions and actions related to reproductive health and rights? Professionally and personally, I try to mind my own business because I don't want to be a barrier or a roadblock to anyone making decisions that are in their best interest. With no bibs, burps, bottles, if you want to have a plethora of kids, do so. If you want to be child-free, do so. Making sure that you are informed about what is best for you is what I'm going to support. So I try to have discussions when I'm uninformed, but when I'm trying to support and empower others, I want to meet them where they are and support them the best way I can.
Now, we all have moments where a piece of advice could have made a significant difference. We asked our panel about the advice they wish they had received earlier about living a child-free life. Let's hear their responses.
So this is Dr. J, and when it comes to what advice I wish I had received earlier about living a child-free life, I think the advice I would have liked to have gotten is ignore the haters. but I probably wouldn't have listened to it. It's something I still struggle with personally. I'm trying to find that balance. The best thing about being child-free is you get to do whatever you want. The worst thing is everybody else with their judgments and all that. And we're in a political season and social media, whatever. So maybe if the advice is, ignore all those folks and live your own best life, that'd be awesome. I'm not sure I'm ready to follow that yet. And maybe as I get older, I'll get there.
What is one piece of advice I wish I received earlier about living a child-free life? This is Nandita. The piece of advice I wish I had received earlier about living the child-free life is that this life was actually an option for me. I grew up in India until I was 17, and though I didn't have any inclinations toward becoming a mother, I did not know that not having children was even a choice. I had never met anyone who was child-free or even happily single. The expectation was that everyone would get married and have kids, and if you didn't do both of those, something was seriously wrong with you. I was 28 years old when I found out, after my partner and I had a discussion about having or not having kids, that I even had a choice. It took me only a few seconds to decide that I didn't want to have children, and I have never looked back. My life is filled with purpose, joy, and meaning, and I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to make that choice that was right for me. I would wish for everyone to simply know that not having kids is as legitimate a choice as having kids.
What is one piece of advice I wish I received earlier about living a child-free life? I really wish I had known the complete exclusion and bias that living without children included. I really didn't think about it. I don't recall having conversations about this in school or in my advanced studies. I'm trying to think where I ever even had the notion that this was a bad thing. I think, as I said earlier, I just kept choosing what was right for me based on the circumstances of my life and the choices of my life. That, coupled with relationship status, relationship experiences, is really baffling to me why this is judged. I think, reproductive experiences and relationship experiences, they are what they are. Yes, we make choices along the way, and we may or may not have those opportunities either to have a child or to be in a relationship. And I just do not understand why this bias exists. However, the older I got, I really, really experienced this both personally and professionally. And if you look at the inequities today, both from basic law that does not protect unmarried people or people without children, at least in the United States, in the majority of our states, actually, to just everyday conversations where people don't think you know anything about children or child development or human development for that matter, because you don't have a child, or how families shift bias to a sibling that does have children. I really just did not see the framework for that until it happened to me, until I experienced it. And so I wish I had had some of the resources that exist today in conversations and communities where this is discussed openly or privately as needed. But really, just to know what's coming, my gosh, I could not have imagined.
What's one piece of advice I wish I would have received earlier about living a child-free life? The one piece of advice is I wish somebody would have told me about sterilization. That wasn't even on my radar. And I wish somebody would have been bold enough to say, hey, this is an option too. So I believe that I would have made that decision had I knew more about it, been informed. So that's one piece of advice I wish somebody would have told me earlier in my child-free journey.
Well, that wraps up all of our questions. Here's how you can find our speakers today.
This is Nandita. You can learn more about my work by visiting my organization, populationbalance.org, or searching for our 2 podcasts on any podcast platform. One is the Overpopulation podcast, and the other one is a new podcast that I've just launched called Beyond Pronatalism, Finding Fulfillment with or Without Kids. Thank you so much for listening. Happy International Childfree Day.
I'm Dr. Angela L. Harris, the visionary and founder of No Bibs, Burps, Bottles, and I would love for you to follow us on our social media. You can do so by finding No Bibs, Burps, Bottles on TikTok, on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter, now X, at No Bibs, Burps, Bot. And we would love for you to find out more about us at our website at nobibsburpsbottles.com. We are gearing up for a few events before the end of the year, one being our chocolate and child-free Sister Circle Brunch. So we are inviting all African-American Black child-free sisters to come and join us next month, August 24th, for our child-free brunch. And stay tuned for more interviews with child-free sisters on our YouTube channel at No Bibs, Burps, Bottles. Peace.
This is Christine Erickson, and I would really love to invite you all into conversation, whether that's on social media or on our platforms with the radio show. You can find more about us at newlegacyinstitute.com or on the Voice America World Talk radio station, the Variety Channel. And you can find that at newlegacyradio.live. I would really like to invite us to think about how we can work together more than we do separately. I think it's really important for us to do our work and to focus on the very important segments, such as child-free wealth, focusing on the financial perspective. It is so critical. And when do we come back together to have this, integrated, interdisciplinary conversation and create what it is we want to not only see in the world, but how do we create actionable change that we can get behind when someone is leading something? We don't have to do this on our own, and we shouldn't have to. So I look forward to a space of collective action and invite everyone to think about that. And if there's anything that I can do or questions I can answer, please feel free to reach out. You can reach me at Christine@newlegacyinstitute.com. Thank you so much.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Remember, living a child-free life is about embracing our choices and planning for the amazing life we want to lead. Happy International Child-Free Day, everyone. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available, or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Child-Free Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.